Hello friends and welcome to the thrilling conclusion of the pulling series. We have spent the last 5 episodes talking about pulling, why it's good to do, how to identify, when to do it, all of that, and now we're going to remove it from the game. Because if you block a camp, then nothing spawns and there's nothing to pull. So you can temporarily remove this mechanic until someone comes and unblocks the camp. So we're going to be talking about both those topics today. Now, for those of you wondering, I know there was technically 2 more episodes planned, but I don't really want to do them anymore. I don't know. They're kind of niche, and I feel like we've covered everything we need to know in the first 6 episodes. So maybe we'll return to this in the future. But for today, we're going to wrap up with blocking camp. So first, we'll focus on how to do it, primarily focusing on ward and sentry placement, as well as for unblocking. And then we're going to talk about when and why to actually do this. Because it does cost resources and time to block a camp. So if you don't need to do it, then we'll use those resources for something else. We'll start off with just what is blocking a camp. It's when you stop a camp from spawning, a little obvious. Typically, you want to do this from the very first spawn. So you don't want anything to spawn at all. Because if you let the first camp spawn and then you block it, it's like, that's okay to do. You know, it's like, I guess we're blocking future pulls, but it does mean they'll get at least one pull off. And with that one pull, they may have already established a lead in the laning stage, and they might then be okay with not having the pull. They can play ahead of you until they unblock the camp and get to do more pulls. So if you're going to bother blocking it, you might as well do it from the very first spawn. And the way you do this is that you have something in the spawn box at the minute mark. That works for all spawns. But in particular, when talking about blocking the spawn, for the 1 minute mark, you need something in the box like you see in this picture here. So here we are in an empty lobby, and I want to show you how I go about testing this so that as the map changes, you can go ahead and test this for yourself too, and you're not dependent on what might become obsolete information. But the concepts apply no matter what. So go ahead and buy yourself a sentry, buy yourself an observer. You actually don't really need the observer, but you can go ahead and grab it anyways. And then if you want, you can get yourself a blink dagger. Now, the reason you want to lock your sentry before buying the next observer is so that when you use the cheat code -WTF, you can place infinite sentries and they won't run out. But if they combine and you place them, you'll run out. I don't know, it's kind of weird, but that's how it works. I'll come over here and I'll demonstrate real quick that when a sentry is in the spawn box and when you're standing here, neither of these camps will spawn. While we're waiting for that, let's go ahead and create an enemy hero. We'll use axe, and then you can use the command give bots space sentry, and now he has a sentry. This way you can place sentries as an enemy and then go ahead and practice unblocking with your placements with your own sentries. So you see the minute mark changed and neither camp spawned, and that's because we had entities within the spawn box. So body blocking, pretty obvious. As long as you walk into this box as the minute changes, you're good to go. It's sentries and by connection observer wards that I want to talk a lot about here on placements. Now we're first going to start with the Radiant small camp, then move to the Radiant hard camp, and we'll spend a lot of time talking about the philosophies on that, and then it'll be real quick to cover these other two because the exact same concepts apply. Now, the 2 points you want to remember when thinking about blocking a camp are that you would like to increase your chance that the enemy misses your sentry, and therefore you get to block the camp longer, and they have to spend extra money buying a second sentry to try again. Pretty much the way you do this is to place your sentry in the corners or behind trees. Now, to really get it in the corner, press and hold your sentry, and you'll notice as I drag it in, the box changes to red. That means the camp would be blocked if I place a sentry. So that's exactly what you want to do. You want to go to the exact corners. Now, why are we doing this? Well, for that, we kind of have to switch to thinking about unblocking this camp. So let's pretend the 4 support has come to block this camp. I'm the 5 support Crystal Maiden, and now I need to unblock it. As it so happens, it is possible to unblock this camp with 1 sentry. Sometimes the map changes and it's not possible, but right now it is. For us, we're going to have to put it along the side around here of the box. It also works on the left side, so left or right, but very close to the box. Not in the red, obviously, but a bit to the right so that it's still yellow, and this will allow us to cover the entire box. It doesn't work down here. If you put your sentry here, you would miss either corner of the top of the box. Now, many people are more careless when coming to place their sentry, people who haven't watched this pulling series. And what they'll do is something like this. And you'll notice that it kind of misses a good chunk of the spawn box. It sounds obvious once I say it, and yet I see it happen a lot. And I don't want you guys to be like that. So I'm going to point it out. If you're blocking the camp, this is why you want to put it in the corners, so that a casual support who's just, whatever, I'll just put my sentry here, there's a good chance that you'll notice, oh, they got this sentry right in this corner, and maybe a sentry placed in this corner, maybe a sentry in this corner, but there's a chance they miss this bottom left box. Now, there's no guarantee on like which one you should place. You know, I don't know where they're going to put their sentry, whether it's here or maybe over here, something like that. But that's why we're just putting it in at least one of the corners to hedge our bets that there's a chance it is missed. Now, just to show you guys, it is possible to cover the entire box with one sentry. For example, I'll put that one there, and you'll notice I find a sentry in every single corner. So that's why we want to try to, if we're trying to block with one, or sorry, if we're trying to unblock the small camp, it is possible to do with one sentry, and you do so by putting it around here or here. And just to demonstrate, I know I told you guys, but so you guys believe me, you'll notice we're missing it in both corners now, right? It looks like it covers, but it doesn't. So keep that in mind when thinking about this. Now, the other thing I mentioned is that you can put the sentries behind trees. Well, why does that work? Well, first of all, let me tell you that if an enemy hero is nearby, you shouldn't try to deward the camp, because they might kill your sentry before you can kill theirs. And you'll notice, wait, I didn't see anything. That's the point. It's behind the trees. I can't see it. Now, even if I don't think the enemy is nearby, maybe they have an observer ward, maybe they just happen to walk over as you're trying to deward, there's a chance that they get here as you're trying to kill their sentry. So when you place your sentry like so, and then, well, I don't see it, right? It's nowhere here. I have to go check behind these trees. And while you're going, the enemy comes in and kills your sentry before you manage to find these and attack them. In this case, obviously, it survived, but it's possible, right? If we call Axe over, right? Maybe as I start going, he realizes what's happening, and I go, oh, I found it, and I try to kill it, but he kills my sentry first, and now this is alive. I gotta go spend another 50 gold. I gotta wait for my courier to come all the way out. This camp remains blocked for another minute. So in the corners or behind trees is generally where you want to put your sentries if you're going to block the camp. And if you're going to unblock a camp, for the Radiant Small Camp, make sure you put it on the left or the right side, very close to the box. For the hard camp, the exact same principles apply. Either you want it in the corners or behind the trees, somewhere over here or somewhere over here. This camp also has a kind of unique aspect in which back here, it kind of looks like, you know, you would be able to place this without blocking the camp. But actually, if you put a sentry like there, or say over here, it's a little finicky, right? Like there, you'll notice the camp does not spawn. It's because the spawn boxes actually have a Z axis, and so although these don't look like they're blocking the camp, they are in fact in the box blocking it. A bit of a weird mechanic, but it's just another spot you can use. You'll find that it's not possible to cover the entire box with one sentry, which brings us to a new dilemma. You can either use two sentries, one on the left, one on the right, maybe one on top, one bottom, one in like the corner, one in the other corner, you know, however you want to mix and match this. But you'll need two sentries if you want to keep your sentry alive. Why is that useful? Well, in case they come to block the camp again and they try to put their sentry, for example, here, you have a chance at maybe killing their sentry with one of your two sentries that are still alive. And that way you don't have to spend another 50 gold to get another sentry to unblock theirs. Now, you could just use one and just take a guess. I will tell you, it's pretty common to put the sentry here, because if you imagine you're a 5 support coming to block this camp, you walk along here at the start of the game, and you just drop your sentry here. It's behind a tree, it's kind of in a corner, and then you walk away before the enemy notices you. So if you were to blindly guess, I would blindly guess on the left side. However, it is possible, by putting your sentry in the middle of the box, to get the entire box. And you'll notice as you come back here, we checked all the corners. Why isn't this good? Well, it is good because you cover the whole box. But what's the downside is that, well, my sentry's in the middle, right? So after I deward whatever sentry they used, I then have to kill my own sentry because otherwise my sentry's blocking the camp. And if the enemy notices this, he's gonna walk in, he's go, oh, so you don't have a sentry here anymore, huh? And he's just gonna put another sentry in the box. Well, he might. Some people only block once and they forget about it, but some people will keep buying sentries to keep blocking the camp. So that is the pro and con of putting the sentry in the box. You guarantee that you deward whatever's in here, but you are gonna have to kill your own sentry. And, you know, there is a limited sentry supply. It does cost money. So it's going to be up to you what you prefer. I am a gambling man. I like to risk putting one sentry down and hope I get it. And then I kick myself in the butt when I have to get a second sentry and put it on the other side. And sometimes that also works out poorly. Like, say you're the axe, you put one here, you put one here, you get the deward, and then you walk away later. And then I come in to block this camp again. And for one sentry, I go, oh, he put one here? Oh, and he put one here. Cool. And then you've blocked the camp, and you took 2 of his sentries. So then if he wants to unblock this, he has to get another 2 sentries if he's going to do the same thing. Or just maybe, like, then he realizes he should put it in the middle and do it. And then I've got a 3rd sentry, and, you know, it becomes a cycle. It's kind of up to you what your philosophy is. If you think you know where they placed it and you're like, I can just use one sentry and I don't need to put it in the middle of the box, then you can put it on the side. Oh, and to continue off that point, I'm telling you guys, use the corners, put it behind the trees. Please try not to put it in the middle of the box or anywhere in the center, because you'll notice no matter where you put the sentry, you unblock it, right? We want to give ourselves the chance that the enemy misses it, and if you put it in the center, like, you're guaranteeing it's only going to cost them 1 sentry. In fact, while we're on this topic, I should mention I prefer to use sentries to block camps. They only cost 50 gold nowadays, and they don't give any golden experience. The observer ward is free, so if you're tight on starting gold, you want to buy like Tango's boots, something like that, and you're like, but I still want to block the camp, you could use an observer ward because these are free. But the downside is the enemy is going to know the camp is blocked because nothing spawns. So for sure, they will bring a sentry over and they will get whatever you used to block this camp. And if you used an observer ward, they are then going to be rewarded with some golden experience when they remove this. So I personally am not a fan of using observer wards nowadays. It used to be very common to do so, but it also used to cost 200 gold to buy a sentry, and you would get a pack of them. And people didn't like to do that at that time, so they would just use observers, which were cheaper, and you could buy just one of. So now the hard camp on the dire side, all the principles we've talked about are going to be applied here. So if you want, one of the corners or behind the trees, somewhere up there will work too. If you're coming to unblock this camp, again, one single sentry does not cover the whole box no matter where you place it. So you're probably gonna have to put it in the middle and then check the whole box and then kill it, or get 2 sentries, whatever your preference is. For the small camp, same deal. One of the corners is probably your best bet, but back here is it's like kind of in the corner and behind the tree. So this is probably the optimal spot if you're trying to block the camp, or sorry, not or. And if you're trying to unblock the camp, as you can see, this one's much more obvious that it only takes 1 sentry to block the whole camp. But if you use it from this side, it's a little riskier, because you'll see like it kind of misses the corners a little bit. Now actually, this bottom right corner, you can't even place a sentry because the tree's in the way. So technically you could put it over here, but I don't know why you'd want to risk that when you could just put it on the top or the bottom of this box and guarantee that you get the whole box. So to summarize all of that, let's imagine you're a hard support coming to block this camp, this dire hard camp. As the game spawns, you're going to walk in here, and right now, as of patch 7.30C, this would probably be the most common spot to put your sentry. Somewhere in this corner, because it is in the corner and it's behind a tree. Another popular spot is over here. If you play against people who like to, because this is the most common spot, if you didn't want to put your sentry in the middle, you'd probably put it on this side because you want to get this behind the tree spot. And if you put it on this side, you'll notice you miss over here. So this is another good spot. It's towards the corner and it's behind some trees, and it tries to take advantage of the fact that people are more likely to put sentries on this half. Putting it up here is again kind of nice because it's in the corner and behind trees, and it's a little better if you need to have vision in the lane. So you're against some invis hero. I know this doesn't quite get into the lane, but it's not that weird for the invis heroes to possibly walk through here for whatever reason. And so if your sentry's over here, maybe you'll spot that. So if you want a little more utility of the sentry in the lane, then you could put it over here to block the camp. But if you're not worried about that at all and you're just trying to block the camp, then probably back here is one of the better spots. And if you're worried about them blocking your camp, then you could put your sentry to block the hard camp here, and then this will partially cover the small camp. And this would be nice because maybe you get to do kind of like a 2-in-1, right? We block the camp and we unblock our own. If you're going to do this, I recommend you hold your sentry until later, so like after the bounty rune. So for example, here, you might run in here, place this, and then run to the rune, hoping that no one sees you. If you're gonna place it here because you're hoping to unblock your own camp, you don't want to place it too soon, because if they do come over to block the camp and they place it here, then they're going to be like, oh, look, a sentry ward. And then they're going to get the double value by blocking your camp and removing your sentry. So wait until the laning stage is closer to starting, when the camps are like you could even wait till like 50 seconds if you want. You'll need to leave the lane for a little bit, but you could do it. And then you put your sentry here. The downside is if you do wait that long and they see you with the sentry, they kind of know like, oh, they didn't just body block the camp, they used a sentry to block the camp, and like they're going to be faster on dewarding. But it's got the extra benefit that, you know, you might unblock one of your own camps if they placed it in this bottom left. But you know, it doesn't work if they place it up there. But those are your considerations. And if you're the 4 support, kind of the same deal. Back here is probably the most popular spot, or in this corner if you're hoping to block the camp and maybe get a D-ward as well. If you're a Radiant hard support, you're going to walk over here at the start of the game and probably put your sentry behind this tree somewhere or behind this tree. And if you want, you can put it behind here too, but you don't really have to. If you need vision in the lane or a sentry true sight in the lane, probably use this bottom right corner. And then again, if you're hoping to unblock your own small camp, wait till like after the bounty rune and then place it in this bottom left corner. If you're the 4 support coming in to block this small camp, odds are you want to use somewhere behind these trees. That's typically the best, but this bottom left corner is not bad. And then same deal, if you're hoping to get a lucky D-ward in your own hard camp, then you block the top right of the small camp and then hope that they place their sentry somewhere back here. I should probably mention, notice it's 55 seconds, and it takes me about 5 seconds to walk into this hard camp and block it, you know, if this camp wasn't already here. So if you don't want to use wards or sentries, then you're going to have to body block. And that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to notice the time and give yourself 5 to 10 seconds to walk away from the lane and into one of these boxes. So pros, that's free, you know? You didn't have to buy wards or sentries and you blocked one of the camps. Downside is you have to remember to do it, and it only works in that single minute. So you're going to have to do it again the next minute and the next minute after that. You are walking away from the lane, which means the enemy is free to pressure you or get more last hits, things like that. And if it's dangerous, you might get yourself killed when trying to come out and block the camp. So if you use a sentry or observer at the very start of the game, it's usually quite safe if you leave the fountain as soon as you load in. Run over here, block one of these camps and leave. Like, that's usually very safe. You don't have to remember to walk over here in the laning stage, and you're free to like keep harassing the enemy and stuff like that. So it is up to you whether you use a sentry or whether you just try to body block, but maybe the next section will help you decide a little bit on that. Now that we know how to block a camp, let's talk about when you're going to do it. So there are 3 points you can think about here. 1, they make good use of the camp. Some heroes have abilities that kind of rely on neutral creeps. So for example, Doom can devour a creep, gaining their ability and also getting some bonus gold from it. Depending on the patch, sometimes the ability gets changed around. Then there's a hero like Enchantress who can enchant a creep and then use them to kick your ass for free. We don't really want that to happen to us if you are the support or the carry playing against these heroes. And so why not just remove that camp from the game, and then you don't really have to worry about that. Sounds pretty good to me. You might also be scared of contesting pulls. We talked a bit about this in the previous video, but if you think you're going to die or just almost die, neither of those sounds very appealing. And so if you think, wow, they could kill me, I don't really want to have to contest pulls, let's remove that possibility by blocking the camp, and then they have nothing to pull, and then I don't have to contest, and then I don't have to almost die. Now, usually an offlaner like Mars or Dawnbreaker, they're scary, but it's usually difficult for just one hero to kill you. It's usually when the supports and the offlaners combined offer a lot of threat, because you think about how you have to go to contest the camp, it is a little bit dangerous positioned, and you're more likely to run into two heroes. So when you have a combo of heroes that can threaten you and not just one hero, that is when it's like really scary to contest a pull, and so I might block it. If it's just one hero that's scary, you know, maybe we can play around that and not block it, maybe depend on body blocking or kind of hope we can contest it. But when both heroes are very scary, then I might just block that camp. And then finally, they can flash farm stacks. So here's like Sand King and Darkseer. They, with their abilities, will shove the lane in, and now your carry has to deal with that, and then they'll go and farm the camps. Now, maybe not at level 1, but if the camp spawns at the very start, then they stack it once or twice. By the time they get the ability to farm stacks, they have a couple stacks to farm right next to their lane. They didn't have to leave too far to go find it, and then they farm the whole thing, and they get a huge burst of gold, and you can't really fight them because they have this, you know, AoE ability that you're like, I don't really want to get close to that. So that would be not favorable for us if we want to win the laning stage, so let's block the camp so they can't do that. So kind of a combination of these 3 points. It's often not a single point. You know, usually if you can threaten to kill your opponent, then you're scared to contest, and they might also be able to flash farm. And someone like Sand King, you know, he can kill you or he can flash farm. So it's usually a combination of a couple of these points, but if any of these points is a significant consideration, maybe just block the camp. All right, guys, let's break down that clip because I think there was a lot of good principles there. So first off, the lane matchup is against Tusk and Centaur Warrunner. That is a very scary combo. Tusk is one of the most dangerous position 4s due to tag team and ice shards, and then Centaur himself is quite scary between Hoof Stomp, sometimes Double Edge, sometimes Retaliate. It's more when he has Double Edge, he's even scarier, but you know, he might level up here and take it soon. And so this is a very scary combo. Centaur Warrunner himself, due to Retaliate and Double Edge, and then when he picks up a Vanguard, he can also clear stacks quite quickly. So the second and third points we just talked about are very relevant in this lane. And that's why I've blocked this camp at the start of the game. Now, Tusk has since realized that, and so he picks up his Sentry now, and he comes over to unblock the camp. Now, he's a gambling man, so he puts it on the left side of the box. You'll see he takes a quick look around, and then he knows, okay, it's got to be behind the trees or something, or maybe back here. So he walks around, and he finds it there. Now, from my perspective, I don't know this is happening until right now, and I see him auto-attack my Sentry once, because you do get vision of people when they do this. So what I want to do really quickly right now, if I can, I want to try to see if I can find his Sentry in the middle of the box, because that will let me know where his Sentry is. So I kind of peek my head in to try to find it, but you'll notice he kind of kills my Sentry at the same time. So I'm thinking, I don't think it's in the middle, but I'm not 100% sure because of how close he killed my Sentry. However, if it is in the middle of the box, then I know that he has to run into the box right now to hit his own Sentry, because he wants this to spawn at 3 minutes. And so if he leaves his Sentry in the middle of the box, it's not going to spawn at 3 minutes, and there's no point in dewarding. So if it's in the box, I know that is what he's going to do. So I kind of wait a second, and then I peek my head out again. I don't see him. There is a chance maybe it's on the lower half, but I think that'd be a little weird. People usually put it like in the center of the box, and I was kind of scared to stick my head out further, I'll be honest. I probably should have checked a little further, even though it's quite dangerous. Like, the position I'm in is a little scary because I'm between the Centaur and the Tusk. But since I didn't see him in the middle of the box, I am pretty confident that it's on the left side of the box. If it is in the middle of the box, I don't think he's got time to deward it and get out of the box, and so I was pretty confident it would be blocked again. But since there's a chance it's on the left side, what I do is I put my own sentry down. I could have body blocked this camp, but I was quite scared that since I know Tusk is in the area and I know Centaur's here, if I body block here, they're going to see me, they're going to come over and kill me. So I decide it's a little safer to use my sentry and put it here. Again, there was a chance that even if it's not in the box, his sentry is like on the lower half over here, and it spots my sentry. In fact, we can check. You can see that it does not. It doesn't quite reach the far right side, unless he like put it over here, which was possible, but a little weird, but it was possible. So you'll notice I still put it in the very corner to hope that if it's on the left, he'll miss me. If it's on the bottom, he'll get me. But the thing is, even if he was going to get this, I was confident that he wouldn't have time to walk over, hit it twice, and get out before this camp gets blocked again at the 3 minutes. And so even if he did get this sentry, I would have until 4 minutes to buy another sentry or to create a situation where it's safe for me to body block it, something like that. I buy myself another minute. So I was willing to lose this sentry, but I wasn't careless with it. I didn't like place it in the center or anything. I put it in far of the corner as possible. And then finally, you can see why I was scared to body block and scared to let this spawn and contest, because they end up finding me and they kill me, right? And that was about as fast as it could be. I kind of like peeked my head up and down in like 5 seconds. Imagine having to contest this camp where you're in this area for like 15, 20 seconds. That is a lot more dangerous. And so here we go. This is why it's scary. The tag team, the ice shards, the stun, 2 heroes hitting you. It would have felt a little better if this centaur would have died, but you know, what can you do? Now, some specific heroes that you almost always want to consider blocking the camp, like very strongly consider blocking the camp, no matter what, no matter who the other heroes are, just block the camp. It's these that you see on the screen. Enchantress and Chen will take over a creep and have it beat you up. And that doesn't feel very good because they get bonuses on their creeps, and so you have a harder time killing those creeps. They can often just enchant something else, and then the creep dies, so you get no value for it. So you just take a bunch of damage. It's really hard to play against. The best way to deal with it is to not have to deal with it, and so you block the camps. Someone like Enchantress, I might block both camps, honestly. Now, Enigma, Marana, Doom, and Pudge, they all have a mechanic to instantly kill a creep, which means there's no chance for you to contest it. We just talked about a hero like Sand King, who can, you know, kind of farm those hard camps, but he does damage over time, which means if you're a support with a nuke ability, you might be willing to risk walking up and stealing the last hit. There's no stealing the last hit against these heroes. They instantly kill the creep, they get the full benefit for themselves, and they take that benefit and beat you with it in the laning stage. So we can just remove that. We'll block the camps, and now they won't be able to use it. Some honorable mentions go to Elder Titan and Crystal Maiden. Crystal Maiden because her W can kill the creeps, even the large camp creeps, and so she can kind of do something similar to what these 4 heroes can, but hers is done over time. So you have the chance to steal the last hit on those creeps, and you have time to like walk over to at least get in range of XP. If you leave XP range for a moment, they can instantly kill the creep, get the full benefit themselves. Elder Titan, with his Astral Spirit, he can stack the camp a couple times, and then he gets extra damage, armor, and move speed when he puts his spirit into that stacked camp. So maybe we don't want to deal with that. Maybe we'll block the camp. I'd like to take a moment to draw attention to the Harpy Stormcrafter. This creep can win the laning stage for whoever owns it instantly. Sorta, you know, not really. It's exaggerating a little bit, but also kind of instantly. If you've never lost a laning stage to this creep, consider yourself lucky. Chain Lightning is a 4-second ability that does 140 damage for 50 mana. It is a lot. 50 mana does sound low. 4 seconds sounds low. It is. Keep in mind, what balances this ability is the fact that the Harpy Stormcrafter has 125 mana pool, so it can only use this ability twice. However, it has 3 mana regen per second, which means every 16.6 seconds, it gains enough mana to use this ability again, which means at max, you need to be worried about 3 Chain Lightnings coming out really quickly. So full mana, 1 Chain Lightning. 4 seconds later, 2nd Chain Lightning. 4 seconds later, it has actually regened enough mana in combination with its 25 mana pool excess to use it a third time. So that is a lot of damage coming out right away. Then it only has to wait another 16 seconds to put out another 140 damage. So this creep, when you have to deal with someone like Enchantress or Chen, is absolutely terrifying. So you may consider, like if you happen to see the small camp, you didn't block it, but you see the small creep alive, you should instantly pull. You might ruin your equilibrium a bit, but you need to get this creep killed off, because if Chen or Enchantress take over it, your laning stage is probably lost from there. This is honestly more than you need to know, but for your information, if you want to keep track of this, here are the creep levels. Some abilities in the game only affect certain creeps of certain levels until you level them up. So for example, Holy Persuasion and Devour. Holy Persuasion at level 1 can affect creeps of level 3 or lower. So all the creeps you see on these 3 tiers and above are what Chen can take over. And it's not until he hits level 2 that you have to start worrying about some of the hard camp creeps and so on all the way over here. Same with Doom. He can't really devour the big hard creeps until he gets to level 3, takes 2 points in Devour, then he can start using these. You don't really have to know these values. I certainly don't know them off the top of my head, but the concept's there, and if you want to use this to plan out whether you think it's worth blocking the hard camp or the small camp, or maybe both, then here you go. And that's kind of it. In summary, if you're a weak lane, strongly consider blocking camps. The reason for this is because the enemy is strong. They might beat you in the laning stage. It would be terrible if they pulled and then they just killed you every time you tried to contest. Okay, so we can't contest. So then they just deny a bunch from you by pulling a lot. You know, you're gonna definitely lose that laning stage that way. So if you block the camp, you're gonna remove that option, and you're just gonna have to deal with a tough laning stage, which is gonna be rough, but it's definitely better than being destroyed by a team that uses the pull camps well. If you want to think about it on the flip side, when you know you're going to be in this situation, you really want to make sure your small camp is open. So you could also hold on to your Sentry and body block the hard camp, and then keep your Sentry to unblock the small camp, because if you're in a bad lane, you really need that small camp. Like, that's one of the ways you can try to save your laning stage. If you are the strong lane, you don't strictly have to block the camps. Now, technically, I just said, like, oh, the weak lane, they really want their small camp, right? That's how they can play the lane. And that's true. But if you're the strong lane and the weak lane tries to do a pull, you can just go over and contest and possibly kill them. And, you know, what do? And so you can kind of like control the enemy when they pull. But if you're the weak lane and the enemy pulls, you're like, okay, like, I guess I'll just stand here and watch you win the laning stage, because if I walk over there, you'll kill me. You know, so that's why it's more important for weak lanes to block camps when they're against the strong lanes, and it doesn't really work the other way. But if you want to be really rude to the enemy team and you're the strong lane, you can go and block their camps and just like really make them miserable. And if you're going to use sentries or wards to block the camp, try to put them in the corners or behind trees of the spawn boxes so that the enemy has a chance to miss them when they go for the D ward. And really try to use the sentry instead of an observer ward. A little bonus tip here at the end: if you're going to use an observer, consider not blocking the camp, but provide vision of the camp. That will let you know when they're going to pull, and that will allow you to go contest them. And if they don't get the pull off, that's sort of like having blocked the camp. But you didn't have to get your observer ward instantly dewarded once they realized the camp was blocked and they put their sentry down. So it's kind of this in-between method, but you're more likely to keep your observer alive. So you can consider that. But really, sentries are 50 gold right now, guys. So like really probably just use those. And that's it. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it helpful. And for watching the whole series as well. If you haven't watched it, I'll link them all in the description. Check them out. I'm relatively proud of how the series turned out, I think, even though I delayed a really long time and now some of it's a little dated. But whatever. Thanks for watching, guys, and you should have all the information you need to make mostly informed pulling decisions now. Bye.